Hey guys, welcome to my spoiler discussion for Bakuman. Yes, I have not forgotten about making this video, and sorry it took me so long to get out. As you know, I've been busy with school, and of course there was a Fairy Tail chapter and Attack on Titan chapter, which I did want to make first. So yeah, now I'm here to talk about the parts in Bakuman that I liked, but I couldn't talk about in my review because they are considered spoilers. And because they are considered spoilers, if you are watching this video and you have not yet finished reading Bakuman or have seen the anime, then yeah, get the crap out of here. So this video won't have any type of structure or anything, or not even a real order. I'm just going to be going through a whole bunch of plot points and discussing what I thought about them. So first up, Takagi, friggin' pimp, getting married at 19. Like, what the crap, dude? I mean, yeah, sure, having a girlfriend's fine, but getting married at 19? What is this, like 1800? Alright, so one of the bigger things I wanted to talk about is, you know, in my review I was talking about how I just loved all the moments in the series where everyone was so happy, and if you are familiar with the series, you know that is most likely when they actually get series in Shonen Jump and they find out they're doing well in the rankings, and they, you know, at the end when they get that anime for Reversi. Such great moments, like the moment when they first get Detective Trap serialized was awesome. When they get Perfect Crime Party serialized, even Tonto, because I know eventually they decided not to do Tonto, they didn't like it and they begged to have it cancelled. I just love these moments, and of course the happiest moment was probably when it was announced that Reversi is going to get an anime. And to be honest, I just love the whole like final arc of this story with Reversi and whatnot, because you know they're trying so hard to get this anime. They wanted to make it their masterpiece, and Jump's like, nah man, you guys can turn this into a long running series and it can go on forever. They're like, no, it is ending after 1 year. We are going to get it animated and we are going to fulfill our dreams, which is just what happens. And I love how they got to continue Perfect Crime Party running in a monthly magazine. That is awesome, because not only are they able to continue the story of Perfect Crime Party, which they didn't want to stop, they had plans for its future, but also once the series ended, we know that they are still going strong in the manga industry with Perfect Crime Party. And I mean, Mashiro at the end of the series, what a badass. Before he goes to pick up Azuki, he buys them a house and he buys a Ferrari. Because why the crap not? Now, like I said, the final scene in this series kind of made me cry. Just because, you know, when they finally decide to get married, I mean, I knew they would end up getting married eventually at some point, probably. I figured from the very beginning that's how the series would end. But like I said, just thinking back through all the hardships that these guys had to go through, like all the hard work they had to put in, you know, all the series that they had serialized and cancelled, and all those extremely close calls where they could have been finished, you know. So crazy. Now, I also briefly touched upon what happens in Volume 6 in my review, but I couldn't go into it. This is the part where Mashiro becomes hospitalized and Detective Trap has to go on hiatus, eventually leading to its cancellation because it falls down with the ranks. And this was one of the best volumes for me because it just showed how determined Mashiro actually was. Like, he is there sick, he is hospitalized, he is not supposed to leave, and he is secretly drawing manga, and he makes a chapter every single week that he is in the hospital. Like, it was like a couple months or something. It was pretty crazy. And just to show how determined he was even more, Azuki comes through and she's like, yo, what if I told you to stop? Like, would you stop? And he's like, no, manga is more important to me right now. I'm sorry, Azuki. I mean, we'll be married in 10 years or whatever, but right now, manga. Also, it was pretty crazy how these guys, as well as Nizuma, get a series in high school. Like, they still gotta go to school, and they gotta do a weekly series. Like, that seems impossible. And I've never looked this up before, but I'm actually kind of curious to see if this has actually happened before with a manga writer writing manga while they are still in school. Like, I can't really see that actually happening. It may have happened, but I don't really see it working for a weekly series. Anyway, speaking of real people, and I don't think I mentioned this in my review, a lot of the editor characters in this series are actually real people, and I didn't find that out until much later, and I actually think that is really cool. Hattori and what that guy, that chubby guy, they weren't real people, and yeah, so some of them were obviously made up, but like some of the background editors, including the editor-in-chief, Sasaki, these are actually real people, which is really cool. I love how they actually just worked real people into the story. It was pretty cool. Now, one thing I said I didn't really like about this story was how Nakai's character ended up, and I'll elaborate a bit more on that. Like, at the beginning, he seems very determined. He wants to get his own series. He falls in love with Aoki, and eventually they get their own series together, but she rejects him when he asks her out. So he goes and mopes and dopes and becomes a fat slob eating pizza, and I'm like, man. Oh, and also he's kind of an asshole when he leaves, so everyone hates him, and I'm thinking, like, you know what, I'm sure he will come back, he will do something great, and everyone will like him again. He, like, comes back, he punches Fuga a bit, and they're like naked or something. And I feel like this scene may have been trying to redeem Nakai, but it really doesn't. And then nothing else happens with this guy's character. He like helps Nanamine out, who I'll talk about in a bit. But again, he doesn't really do much with that. Fuga, on the other hand, I don't think I've even mentioned Fuga in my review. Fuga was an amazing character. Some of the best moments in the series, some of the funniest moments were when Fuga was working and his editor was trying to motivate him to work harder by telling him stuff about Miss Aoki. Like, that was hilarious, and the way his character arc ends with him proposing to Aoki was amazing. Like, it was probably one of the top 5 moments in the series for me, and there are a lot of amazing moments in this series, and the only thing I didn't like about how Fukuda's character arc ended is that was when I realized that this series is almost over. Now, Nanamine, what a dick. This asshole just comes in, he gets like 50 people together, and they try to pretty much break Jump. They try to make like the best possible manga with all these people giving input, and I loved how Mashiro and Takagi, Muto Ashirogi, beat this guy to the ground. He went from first place, and then like 5 weeks later, he was in dead last, and he gets his series canceled. That was amazing. I hated this guy. Now, I talked about how I loved how realistic this series is, but the one thing that I never talked about in my review, because it is a pretty big spoiler, the one thing that I didn't find super realistic is how Nanamine, like, starts his own company for the sole purpose of a bunch of people creating a manga to run in Shonen Jump. I mean, that sounded a bit far-fetched, especially because he's like 18 years old, and he's running this big company with a bunch of teenagers writing manga, like, really? But I mean, that stuff didn't drag on. I mean, eventually they crushed him, he gets destroyed, and it was amazing, and yes, I just loved how that arc ended. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about here is the final stretch of the series when it is Reversi against Nizuma's zombie gun. That stuff was intense. I loved seeing these two go head to head. You know, they kept fighting for first place, and they kept swapping, you know, first and second, and the graphic novels came out, and originally Zombie Gun started selling awesome, and then Reversi came up with all the sales, and it was awesome. Eventually they beat Nizuma, and it was amazing. And I love how Nizuma is all cool with it. He's like, you know what? They beat me, and now I'm going to try my hardest to beat them again. And like I said in my review, I just love their rivalry. It was so awesome. It was so great. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this spoil discussion. But one more thing. Now, Viz. Now, okay, I know companies, you know, when they release a product that is a story, like a movie or a TV show or a manga, they don't want to, you know, advertise the spoilers. But here's the thing, Viz. This, for those who don't know, this is one of the posters that came with the box set. It's a poster of Mashiro in his Ferrari driving off with Izuki at their wedding, which is the last thing that happens. Really? Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's a nice poster, but you see, a lot of the people buying this box set have never read the series before. I didn't even know what the series was about when I got this box set. And, yeah, seeing this, the first thing I saw, I'm like, okay, well, that's probably how the series is going to end. Thanks, Viz. But anyway, that wraps up all the stuff I'm going to do on Bakuman for a while. Once again, I absolutely love this series. I mean, if you're watching this video, then you probably love the series as well. Also, I may talk about this series again, I may or may not be doing a top 10 manga video. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.